So this is to show how far I've got with the Blenkinsop cog locomotive. I'm not calling it part 7, I'm calling it back to the beginning because I've had to virtually remake the entire model because there were so many things wrong with my original model that I just felt it just needed to be scrapped and started again. So perhaps the most obvious mistake that I've made was that I'd made the boiler circular when in fact it's elliptical. I'd assumed, quite wrongly, that the photographs which appeared to show it as an ellipse, see if I can get that looked to me like a circle in the photographs, but in fact it is actually, as you can see, it's taller than it is wide, and this is part of its construction, so that needed to be completely refitted. Also, through my appeals in the last video and also I located an article on in the Model Engineering website, and the editor kindly put me in touch with the person who had made this incredible model of the cog loco, Anthony, and he very kindly supplied me, you can see here, the drawings which he has supplied me and which I'm now working from. Now, although this isn't complete, there's still quite a lot to do on it. It's now much more the correct size. I was about 20% too small in the previous model, and so what I've done is I'm working from these diagrams and using the gauge of 4 foot 8.5 as my standard measure, which then gave me the heights and length, etc. What I do is I print these out and then I carefully measure the 4 foot 8 and reduce that down to how many millimeters it takes to make 4 foot 8.5, and that gives me a how many millimeters per inch, and then I can measure each distance there from the rail to the top of the diagram, at least to the top of this framework, and that gives me that measure there, and also it gives me the length measure as well. So I can put these in and I double check them using circular meshes to make sure the wheels are circular. That's always a good indication. If they look a little bit like they're going to be like the boiler, elliptical, then obviously it's wrong. So because that's happened, I've had to rip out all of my animation, so this is not animated yet, but it will be. And also I've still got to do both the chimney end, and this is not a wooden box, I've since discovered. Anthony has his model shows it as a metal container, and there's some pipe work and everything to go there, and of course I've got to do the firebox end as well. That's completely lacking, and there's also some information here, also some rodding to go underneath, and you'll see that the cog wheel is now, the cogs are much more beefy than they were before, so these reflect the accurately the width of the cog wheels over here. So although it's taken, it's a shame that I had to just stop the model that I had been making, which I've posted several parts, and I had to go back to the drawing board, quite literally. I had to rework a whole load of this, but the great thing is that Anthony was able to put me right on this control arrangement here, and which I followed very carefully indeed, and it also does indicate that there would have been one of the operators, one of the men would have stood somewhere here in order to operate. You can see there's a lever, let me get the pointer, there's a lever here and here, which I think was used, I'm just guessing, but it's to move this moves up and down slightly here, which will slightly change the travel of the pistons coming up from the two cylinders. And also Anthony sent me quite a bit of information about the locomotive, and it appears that when Murray built this to Blenkinsop's concept, that basically it's two Trevithick locos head to head, and the structuring, the reason why it's elliptical is the internal structuring to maintain those what had been essentially two boilers, but it was that these vertically mounted cylinders are the key to the whole operation, and obviously it's going to look very good when it's animated. I will get back to doing that. One of the other aspects, of course, is I realized and another reason why I dumped the animation, that blue bar down the bottom, purpley bar down the bottom there, is actually just the gauge. And you can see the wheels are sitting on ground zero. So these bogies, by the way, I've had to remake and refit, and so that's something else. So a lot of the model that I had made has been hit the bin, basically. However, of course, it does mean that these, looking underneath here, these cogs here will operate at twice the speed of this cog. So this has got 48 teeth on it, and these have got 24. And so to complete a circuit of this, these will go round twice, which will mean these rods will be going up and down twice as fast as I thought they should. But nevertheless, that's the way, that is how the maths works out for this. So there we are, not a very long update at all. It's simply sort of posting up that I'm still around. I'm still doing this, but it has been a major changeover. You'll also notice, by the way, that this safety or escape valve or whatever this thing is sticking up here, I'm now following Anthony's design rather than the square wooden structure with a square wooden chimney sticking out of it. He's also provided me with the names of 4 of these locomotives as they were built, so I will produce 4 very slight variants. They will have different texture colours to them. That's about it, but so those will also be part of the whole process, and I've got the nameplate to create for this one. This will be Salamanca when it comes out, but it is about 25% bigger than my original model, and it just really does demonstrate how you've got to get the right information before you can proceed with modelling something as complex as this. Having said that, the only thing I did have available when I started was that side view, not this one, but the very poor side view that's been in the, you can get it online, and it's been in various magazines and publications of early railways. Also, I'd like to give a thanks to I think it's Aritz. I do apologise, I know I'm desperately not pronouncing that correctly, from Spain, who has given me some really useful tips and information, and especially he sent me details of a 3D CAD site which has a model that looks pretty much like this, and which I was able to twist around and look in all different directions. And although it's a lot more complex than this one, and I've got to keep this fairly simple in order for it to load okay and run okay in trains, it's given me a lot of help for the underside, the chassis of Salamanca, of the loco, and I've got to come on to that next. And he's going to help me once this one is up and running. Then I'm going to revisit my 2 Trevithick locos, that is the Penny Darren loco and Catch Me Who Can, and I certainly agree with him that I've actually got the front and the back the wrong way round on both of those, and so we're going to sort that out, and also maybe give Catch Me Who Can the little rail mounted Phaeton carriage that it pulled around in just north of Euston Square when Trevithick demonstrated it back in the early 19th century. So there we are, that's how far I've got. This is all a rebuild, the whole lot has been essentially remade, so that's why I haven't been posting up anything more further development. And of course the key change is getting the boiler right, but I think it's going to be a lovely loco, or rather 4 of them, and my intention is it's going to be a fair bit of smoke. I'm going to put steam points all over the place wherever I think I can get away with them, so there'll be a lot of steam as well. There'll be one of the crew will be standing on, let me see, which side is it? That's where is that where the levers are? Yes, there's the levers. If I go to the pointer, that's the lever there and there. So be standing here risking life and limb while these things go flying around, and the other one will be down at the firebox end, because this I think is the only way in which you can brake it. There's no brakes on this loco at all. So there we are, that's it. If you have any comments, queries or suggestions, any questions at all about it, please do post them up. You can see, by the way, just before I sign off on this video, you can see here the original length. It was back here. That's the limb back, that's the limit of the back of the loco. It's got to be moved out at least another foot and a bit, and similarly at the front. So longer, taller, I wouldn't say broader, because it doesn't seem broad, it just seems a very tall, really quite narrow locomotive. I love it. I think it looks marvellous. I really enjoy making these type of locos. And so, as I say, if you have any comments, queries or suggestions, please do post them up, and look out for my next video, where I hope I'll be able to show it with these sections animated, and of course all the rodding animated, but I am going to concentrate on finishing the actual modelling of it before I then move on to the animation, after which it'll be a case of splitting the mesh up into the 2 bogies there, which will include the rodding. I think I'll keep that all together with the cogwheel, and then exporting the whole lot to trains, and hopefully after that it'll actually be running in trains, at least on my version. Then it'll go to Bob, my beta tester. So that's the reason why I haven't posted anything up in the last week or so. A completely rebuilt Blenkinsop Murray cog locomotive. Lovely jubbly.